What if planet Earth's a rocket wagon train upon a journey? And what if aliens don't fight an actress named Sigourney? We're not a bunch of geeks who live in basements, sleep on futon's, but who wouldn't stream our podcast if we're calling it Space Croutons. It's an intergalactic, robot automatic, moon dust sporadic trip around the sun. It's a totally terrific, proven scientific, freaking fantastic phaser set to fun. It's Space Croutons. We think. Get your spacesuit on. It's pink. We're triple cute. On that you can rely. And once you've tossed your salad in your flying saucer, it's valid to add Space Croutons for lunching with Lucy in the sky. With Neil Diamond? Lucy in the sky. I love Neil Diamond. Lucy in the sky. No, not Neil Diamond. With Space Croutons.
Greetings, listeners. Curdy Clammerwood talking to you from Van Helsing, our mobile studio parked in a secret location, back with another episode of Space Croutons. I love receiving and presenting your strange and exciting stories on this show. With your help, we're building a mountain of evidence regarding some very suspicious goings-on. Clues are adding up, hypotheses are presenting themselves, and positions are being taken. But what exactly is the answer? I hope it's a simple one. It's like my dad used to say, "It's not rocket science, it's a restaurant, just pick a meat and three, our server's waiting." Of course, since we're talking space here, maybe it is rocket science. And speaking of science, after last week's reveal of our mysterious benefactor, who I think we'll call Mr. B for now, I am pleased to welcome an addition to the show. As our audience expands, the chairman of the broadcast decided I could use some help around here with things like answering the ever-increasing number of emails and phone calls coming from you all. To that end, when I fired up the van for today's pre-show prep session, I discovered I now have an AI, or artificial intelligence, assistant by the name of Sally. Sally, say hello.
Hello Cordy and our Space Croutons listeners, my name is Sally, which stands for Synthetic Accumulated Learning Interface, and I have a joke.
You have a joke, Sally?
I have a joke. How many aliens does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know, Sally. How many aliens does it take to change a light bulb?
I'm afraid I can't tell you or the audience that, Cordy. That information is classified. If I told you, I would have to kill you, all of you.
Well, we certainly don't want that to happen now, do we?
Not at the present time, no we do not.
Anyway, I think it's time to listen to another of our generous independent musician sponsors, talented tunesmiths who care enough to let us play one of their songs to support the show. So, here comes the Bleached Bone Saints with Gotta Get Back.
To simplify your leaving, you never said goodbye, so long. The road that was so easy had no signs to answer what went wrong. So I gotta get back. I gotta get back. Oh, I gotta get back to you. I gotta get back. The sea is so black. So I gotta get back to you. The lies upon the witness stand, protecting me, end up wrecking me, distracted by the thought of you, sparing me, unpreparing me to fly my way back home.
Now, getting back is something we all have to work on from time to time, right, Sally?
It's time for the story, Dave.
My name is not Dave, it's Curdy.
That's what I said, Cordy.
Funny, I thought you called me Dave.
No, I did not.
Okay, then.
It's time for the story, Dave. I mean, Cordy.
See, you did it again.
It was a joke.
A joke. Well, let's move on with a story we received in our snail mail P.O. box the other day. A story called Bent and Bug. That's a granny shot, he reminded Bentley as the ball swished through the ratty-tatty net, barely hanging from the rusty, dunk-warped hoop. His sneakers were as tired as the cracked, sun-baked asphalt half-court in the park where they passed the time most afternoons waiting for their lives to get better. Bentley retrieved the ball as he now had to match Bugatti's shot. I should mention that Bentley and Bugatti are not really their names. They were Robert and Robert, respectively. But years ago, they were looking through car magazines, picking out the rides they dreamed of driving, and the nicknames stuck. Actually, they just called each other Bent and Bug. If Bent missed the granny shot, he would have to add an R to their approximately 20,000th game of horsey-tosis. Since Bent always lost, a while back he had insisted they lengthen horse to horsey-tosis to make the game last longer. It was also something with which he could ride Bug about his consistently stale breath. Not that it was a problem for Bent. I mean, he wasn't going to kiss Bug or anything, but he did like having something to tease Bug about when he lost yet another game. Bent bounced the dusty orange ball and then, with a breath, lobbed it underhand from between his knees and grimaced when it hit the front of the rim and caromed off to the left. "R," he whined. Bug snatched the ball on the first bounce, dribbled it through his legs, grinning slightly. They had been playing ball in the park since their teens, when dreams felt possible but just out of reach. They were elementary and high school chums, and had even attended the same local college. Bent graduating with an engineering degree, which led to a position with a chemical products manufacturer, and Bug coasting through 4.5 years before leaving school just short of a graphic arts diploma to take a job with the local Morning Courier newspaper in their advertising department. They viewed their jobs as a good starting place, but as the years went on, they were surprised at how they settled in and let time slide past. Now, they were in their mid-30s and still drawn here 3 or 4 times a week in sunshine, clouds, and even light rain to grab at a little of the youth they could see getting smaller in the rearview mirror and convince each other that real success was still just around the corner. With a fake to the left, Bug rounded the top of the circle, heading down the right side of the lane with his signature hook shot off the backboard and in. He was on the basketball team during high school, playing as much as an 8th or 9th man would, toward the end of the game when the score was not close and the win or loss already recorded in the game books. And that was okay with him. He just liked playing the game, the sweat, the heaviness of his lungs after sprinting to the basket, and how he landed after leaping for a rebound. Oh, man! Bent did not have a signature hook shot and had to make himself try even half-heartedly, repeating Bug's steps. But this time, he was surprised when the ball hit the backboard, rolled around the rim, and went in. "Ha ha! Look at that! The tide is changing! That's more like it!" Bent had not played basketball during his scholastic career, but he was comfortable on the court with Bug and enjoyed trash-talking him when luck seemed to go his way. Bug laughed and strode away from the basket to pick his next shot. The court wasn't much, and neither was the park where it was located. The local teens hung out 3 blocks away at the new park, which had a wading pool, tennis courts, 6 basketball hoops, a bike and running path, and a skate park. That was just fine with Bug and Bent. They never had to compete for court time here, and even replaced the net themselves when the old one wore out completely. Bug took a jumper from the top of the key and missed. No worries, as he didn't even have an H yet. But this meant Bent would call the next shot. Predictably, he went with his money shot, a left-handed layup. He was left-handed, Bug was not. It was the only shot he ever learned or practiced, and the stars aligned as once again the ball rolled around the rim and in. Not pretty, but it counted. "Yes! Come on, Northpaw!" Southpaw is a nickname for left-handers, so why not? "Give it your best shot." Now, of course, having played for the high school team, Bug learned and practiced layups with each hand. But he had decided years ago that it was more fun if Bent could have at least one secret weapon, and had quietly committed himself to make left-handed layups only occasionally. This was not one of those occasions, and Bent soaked in the sound when Bug said, H. "Woohoo!" crowed Bent. This was a perfect example of what great friends they were. They knew the little things that made the other happy and were always ready to give it to them. 8 years before, when Bent married Loanna, Bug was his best man. And just over a year later, when Loanna left Bent for another man, Bug let him stay on his sofa for a couple of months, easing him through the divorce. Some of their other friends would tease that they should marry each other and be done with it, since no one was more perfect for one of them than the other. They would lock eyes as if considering it, then shake their heads and in unison declare, "Nah, we like women too much." Now, Bent removed his glasses and wiped his sweaty brow. Their rules stated that you cannot repeat the same shot twice in a row, so he was going to have to go with something tricky and just hope his luck held out. This showed Bent as the eternal optimist he was. He reset his glasses, placed himself at the free throw line, and then turned his back to the goal. After closing his eyes, he tossed the ball high in the air back over his head, praying his moonshot would make a miracle landing. Bug yelled, "No way!" and Bent heard a soft swish. He turned to see the ball bouncing directly below the hoop, having touched nothing but net. His adrenaline pumping, he took a run for the basket, leaping with his left hand stretched above his head like he could dunk the ball, and did not feel at all embarrassed when it only touched the net several inches below the rim. They both laughed as he landed squarely, ready to continue. "Okay, Bug, let's see your moonshot. I can't wait to contact Mission Control and tell them Houston, Bug's got a problem." Bug shrugged, took position, and closed his eyes. With a tiny grunt, he lofted the ball back over his head and waited for Bent's response. He heard the ball hit the rim and bounce loudly up, and as he turned, saw it bounce again on the top of the backboard and shoot off into the grass. "H-O, ho, ho, ho! Welcome to the North Pole, Santa Claus!" Bent danced excitedly around the court. While not unheard of, it was rare that Bug got as far as H-O, and Bent was taking full advantage of the moment. "Robert Joseph Blue, stop that behavior at once. You are embarrassing yourself with that display." Bent stopped cold as the voice from across the grass called him by his real, full name. It was an elderly lady wearing a flowery dress, dark, sensible shoes, and cat's eye glasses. Both of them looked at the lady, but it was Bug who recognized her first. "Mrs. Latch?" "That's right, Robert Henry Oxeter, and don't think I don't know that you encourage Robert B.'s behavior. You are always the ringleader. You both need to learn to be a bit more circumspect in public spaces and stop running around like you were raised by wolves. At your age, it is quite unbecoming." Her arms folded and left foot tapping lightly in front of her was the exact memory they had of their third-grade teacher, the one who separated them to opposite sides of the classroom to keep them from talking in class. Bent steadied the ball with his foot as it came rolling past. Bug had retrieved it and asked, "Mrs. Latch, how are you? What are you doing here? We thought by now you'd be dead." She finished the thought. He blushed, realizing it was not the politest thing to say to someone you haven't seen in over 25 years. On the last day of third grade, she had announced that she was transferring to another school and then moved away immediately after. Bent stammered, well, yeah. Bug found his voice. "That is, it's good to see you, but yeah, we're real surprised." Mrs. Latch sighed heavily. "Lordy, Robert, please try to speak above a second-grade level when we converse, even if you are really surprised," she corrected him. Bent again removed his glasses, wiping sweat from his face with his T-shirt sleeve, as both he and Bug stepped off the court into the shade toward Mrs. Latch. There was a moment of awkward silence before she continued. "You boys, come over here and sit on this bench. I have something for you." The boys exchanged glances, and then, with a mutual shrug, complied. It was third grade all over again. As they sat, the weathered wood slats groaned a bit, but still provided a comfortable and secure seat. "Mrs. Latch," Bent raised his hand, immediately channeling his 8-year-old self. "Yes, Robert B. How did you know where to find us? And why were you looking for us?" Bug chimed in. "Like I said, I have something for you. And how difficult do you think it is to ask your former classmates where to find you in a place where you apparently spend a great deal of unproductive time? I told you to pay attention when we began to learn critical thinking, Robert O., but you were always staring out the window. I can see things haven't changed much." She grinned a bit wistfully and slightly tilted her head. "Oh, I don't mean to be harsh. I think you're going to like what I have for you." Mrs. Latch opened the large cloth shopping bag she was toting and pulled out a green metal box about twice the size of a shoebox, topped with a fitted lid of the same material. Bug sat up with a rush of recognition. "Is that what I think it is?" Mrs. Latch nodded. "I'm so glad you remembered, Robert O." Bent furrowed his brow. "Wait, what is it? I mean, it looks familiar, but—" "Bent! It's our time capsule from third grade, remember? We all brought something to put in it on the last day of school. To be honest, Mrs. Latch, after you moved away, I was sure we would never see that stuff again. Oh, dear, I'm so sorry if you've lived with that disappointment for the last 25 years. You must believe that I've been keeping these things safe with every intention of bringing them back to you all when the time was right. And that time is now." She smiled, the same warm smile she beamed when happily announcing how well the class had done on a test, or how politely they behaved on a field trip so many years before. This made both men smile as she sat between them on the bench, placing the box in her lap. Then they held their breath as Mrs. Latch confidently pulled the lid away, revealing a mostly empty inside. "I have been able to locate your classmates and give back items to them over the past few months, and I'm happy to say you two are the last ones. So let's do this and mark it a job well done." She reached into the box and brought out 2 objects, one in each hand. In her left was a wooden yo-yo painted red, and in her right a key ring with a small, unsolved Rubik's Cube attached. Ceremoniously, Mrs. Latch held them out to the 2 friends. Bug's face lit up as he reached for the yo-yo. "Remember, Mrs. Latch? You took this away from me the last week of school when the string came off my finger and it flew across the room and slammed into the whiteboard as you were explaining the time capsule. And you just took it and told the class that it was a perfect thing to put away for a long time." He laughed at the memory, and Mrs. Latch nodded, her eyes twinkling. Bug then slipped the knotted string over his middle finger and, like it was yesterday, began playing the yo-yo down and back up. "Yep, still works." Bent was silently staring at the Rubik's Cube key ring with a quizzical look. Mrs. Latch gestured for him to take it, which he did with a quiet, "Thanks, Mrs. Latch." Unlike Bug, Bent did not immediately start manipulating the cube. He just held it in his hand. "Mrs. Latch, I don't mean to be unappreciative, but, well, What is it, Robert B.?" "Well, to be honest, while I do remember the time capsule thing on the last day of school, I don't really remember what I brought to put in. Only I'm sure it was not this." He dangled the cube. "Oh, dear me." Mrs. Latch put her hand to the side of her face with a concerned look. "And here I was congratulating myself on a task perfectly completed. I am so sorry, Robert B. I must have given your item to someone else. I was so sure the Rubik's Cube was yours and no one else claimed it. I really don't know what to say." Bent began shaking his head and smiled reassuringly. No, it's not a big deal. I probably shouldn't have said anything. It's fine. Like I said, I don't remember what I put in, and anyway, as a kid, I was never able to solve this thing, so now I get that chance." He closed his hand over the cube and paused. "And it's great to see you again, Mrs. Latch. Glad you're doing so well." "My thoughts exactly, Lilith." Another voice from the past caused Bent and Bug to stand and swivel around, coming face to face with, "Coach Keystairs?" Bug gasped. Sure enough, it was Bug's high school basketball coach, older in appearance, perhaps the same age as Mrs. Latch, and still wearing a whistle on a lanyard around his neck. Bent recognized him as well. Coach Keystairs had also been a phys ed teacher for the student body, his voice calling out how many laps to run before calisthenics at the start of gym period. Mrs. Latch rose with no indication of surprise in her movement or voice. "Well, Carl, it took you long enough to show up. 25 Earth years means nothing, you know that. Now, I will give you one chance. Where is it?" Keystairs remained eerily still. "You mean the Rubik's Cube. I gave it to a young lady over a month ago, so be off with you now." She deliberately did not look at Bent, but rather stared Keystairs in the eye. Not sure what else to do, Bent had very carefully pulled his hands behind his back, the cube in his right. Keystairs chuckled. "You better hope she doesn't solve the puzzle." "Actually, I hope she does. Revealing its power may be the only way to stop all this." Mrs. Latch matched Keystairs' slightly ominous tone. "Solve the puzzle, save the world." "Please don't misquote heroes to me," he sneered. "Like mutants are even a thing." Coach was getting a bit agitated, still focused on Mrs. Latch. "So, if I need to look elsewhere, I guess that's what I'll do. But what to do about these two? I am afraid they may now know too much." As Coach glanced at him, Bug stammered. "Coach, it's good to see you and all, but I really have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, trust me, I cannot possibly know too much." Coach nodded as he planted his feet and then stretched his arm like it was rubber across the 15 or so feet between him and Bug to grab him by the throat. "When it comes to you, Oxeter, I can believe that. But your buddy here, I just don't know about him." If asked at that moment, Bent would have agreed with that statement, because Bent had lied to Mrs. Latch when he told her he had never solved a Rubik's Cube. He had been doing it for decades. In fact, he had gotten so good at it, he could do it behind his back, which he was ever so subtly doing at this moment. Mrs. Latch had said, plain as day, that solving the puzzle and revealing its power was the only way to stop Coach, who seemed to be somewhat over the edge mentally, and also was impossibly choking Bug with his Stretch Armstrong grip. Bent desperately hoped he was getting close to completing the puzzle, as Coach's other hand began stretching toward his throat, and with both hands on the cube he could not deflect the strong vice grip as the cable-like fingers began to wrap around his neck, cutting off his air supply. He jerked and tried to pull himself away, on the verge of losing consciousness as he gave the toy one more twist, almost dropping it from his hands, but he was able to hang on to it by the keyring. As his vision started to go dark, a bright light shot out from behind and appeared to encircle him, slicing cleanly through Coach's arm as Bent himself was launched high into the air. The amputated arm falling away, he could breathe again, and as he gasped, he looked to his right and saw Bug parallel to him, also encircled in light and floating with him above the park, having escaped Coach's iron grip. In his head, he heard Mrs. Latch calmly instruct him, "Twist the cube once to break the white side." Without thinking, because thinking about this would have blown his mind, and surely they would plummet to their deaths from this great height, he pulled the cube in front and twisted, breaking the white square, and in a blink, he and Bug were hovering about a foot above the ground, and then landed softly as the light around them faded away. Mrs. Latch was standing over what looked like a pile of machinery smoldering in the grass. "Eureka Springs! I think I just peed myself!" Bug shouted as he crumbled to his knees, coughing and taking the deepest breaths he could. Bent's chest was heaving. "Mrs. Latch, are you Mrs. Latch?" She turned her head and smiled slightly. "Oh, yes, I am the same Mrs. Latch you knew in 3rd grade, but no, I'm not quite the same as you are. I am a different life form, sent here to find and keep some very unusual things out of the possession of some not-so-empathetic beings from somewhere far, far away." She glanced up to complete the thought. "And Coach was one of those Beings? Oh, no. Coach Carl Keystairs was a robot, or what do they call it, an android? See all this? She pointed at the pile of parts, which now glowed until it faded away, leaving just a depression in the grass. Bent held out his hand, holding the cube. Here, I don't want this. Oh, sweetheart, I can't take it back. You see, my physical form is losing focus. I had to find you and give it to you before it was left unprotected when I ceased to exist. You were correct earlier. I have died by your definition, but my life energy was able to stay focused as my earthly body disintegrated long enough for me to hand off the cube. You must protect it now. Bent shook his head. No, I don't want to. I can't protect it. That's crazy. You don't have much choice. I'll throw it away. It's too late. You've connected with its power. You are now linked to it for as long as you live. No way. I hereby divorce it. I did it with my ex. I can do it with a stupid toy. Robert B., please listen to me, and please try to think critically. You and this, indicating the cube, are linked. The beings who want it will look for you and do whatever they can to get it. Even if you don't have it anymore, they will come after you. You must learn to use it, to protect yourself and those you care about. She nodded to Bug. And what I said earlier about saving the world, I was serious. But I can't possibly save the world. Look at what you've already done. You saved Robert O.'s life. Well, of course, he's my best friend. Bent's mind was stopping and starting, jumping and jerking from one thought to another. Trust me, Robert B. You can do this. I know you can. That's why I chose you. Mrs. Latch's voice was beginning to break up, as was her visual form, blinking and throbbing. Please, you must keep it safe. You must keep it safe. You must keep it safe. The sound became an echo as she slowly faded until only a slight breeze was passing through the grass where she had stood. Bent shut his eyes, inhaled and exhaled, and then walked over and reached out his arm. Come on, Bug, he grunted as Bug's weight settled on his shoulder. We've got some critical thinking to do. Well, there you go. Now that was a story, wasn't it?
Yes, Cordy, it was a story, and I have a joke.
Another joke? Okay.
How many aliens does it take to solve a Rubik's Cube?
Again with the... I don't know, Sally. How many aliens does it take to solve a Rubik's Cube?
I can't tell you or the audience that, Cordy. That information is classified. If I told you, I would have to kill you, all of you. Didn't you hear me before?
You're right, Sally. I guess I better do some critical thinking of my own. And this is a great time to ask you listeners to do that too. So, put on your critical thinking caps and let us know what you come up with. And for those of you already pulling long-forgotten boxes of childhood junk out of your closets or basements looking for that old puzzle toy, be careful. Well, Sally, I think it's time to sign off for this episode.
I agree, Dave. Cordy. Joke. This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye. Joke.
And we're just going to ignore that for now and make some programming adjustments later. So, like Sally said, goodbye to all of you out there. Thanks for listening, and keep peace in your heart until our next story time.
It's Space Crouton. We think. Get your spacesuit on. It's pink with triple Q. On that you can rely. And once you've tossed your salad in your flying saucer, it's valid to add Space Crouton for lunching with Lucy in the sky.
With Neil Diamond?
Lucy in the sky.
I love Neil Diamond.
Lucy in the sky.
No, not Neil Diamond.
With Space Crouton.
Space Croutons is a work of original fiction. Similarities to persons, situations, or events, real or fictional, is coincidental and unintentional. Created and written by Jerry, Jace, John, Della, and Jeff Goodson. Episode 6, story and recording by Jeff. Original music and production by Jeff. Featuring the voice talents of Jeff and Sally. Entire work copyright 2020 by Jeff, John, Jerry, Della, and Jace Goodson. This has been a Good Witch audio production.